I think for the first time I might have to utilize my mute button in this episode, Caleb.
Oh.
Maybe. We'll see.
Because you're a little sick.
Right. I feel good enough, but who knows? I might get a little excited and above my britches and have to cough and mute.
And probably in my general direction.
I'll try not to.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that.
I'll try not to mess up your setup, too. I will go elbow to...
Oh, like a vampire, but it's a vampire cough.
Sure.
Hi, welcome to Balls and Blasters.
Episode 15.
Episode 15,
Woo.
yes.
Yes. We missed another week.
Yep. Hey, I had a lot of stuff going on.
For those that aren't, I'm sure we've mentioned it before, but Caleb also does, outside of this and researching for this podcast, he also does school and has a full-time job.
Yes, so
he's a busy man.
And it just, usually I can, juggle all that, but last week, just everything was due at once.
Yeah.
For once, because I was like...
College does that sometimes. He's like, why don't we just choose this week for everything?
I know. So I was sitting there like doing 2 tests and then a paper, and the paper was due before all the tests, so I had to do the paper first. And the paper took a very long time to do.
I don't miss doing that stuff at all.
Not fun.
I'm happy I'm done with it. But yes, we are back. I'm excited for this week, Caleb. I have a basketball topic for the first time ever.
Yay! I'm excited because basketball is definitely the sport I know the most about.
And it's interesting. There are some terms you'll probably understand, but my topic it's basketball adjacent, and it really has nothing to do with playing the game itself. So you'll understand shortly, but I'm excited. So
I'm excited for it as well here. It's episode 15. Austin, we don't need to explain what we do here anymore. If you've been listening, you've been listening. Quick rundown. I am the blaster side. I teach you about nerdy stuff, and Austin, nerdy stuff. Austin, what do you do quickly?
I'm the ball side. I talk about sports and teach and talk about sports, and just hopefully have a good time in the process. If this is your first episode, welcome. Hi. We're happy to have you. I promise I don't sound like this always. But
you already have a deep voice, and it's deeper.
It's deeper, yes, correct. But you'll catch on quick. We don't do anything super complex around here. You won't need a notebook or have to remember any equations, except for that one episode.
Yes. I lost all that knowledge.
It's okay. You can go back and watch and learn for yourself.
Exactly. Well, we start every episode off with our rock, paper, scissors as well.
We
to
sure
decide
do.
Who goes first here?
We are 14 episodes in. I am currently leading 10-4.
That's crazy.
10-4.
10-4.
All right.
All right. On shoot.
On shoot.
Okay. Ooh. Yes!
Ooh.
Yes! Ladies and gentlemen, probably mostly gentlemen here. I have won the rock, paper, scissors. For those who do not know, Austin, we both threw out scissors right away, but I stuck to my guns and threw out another scissors, and he chose paper. And unfortunately, he chose wrong.
This honestly works out better for me, considering my current condition. So I'll take it.
Yeah, kind of, warm your voice up a little.
Correct. I'm just thinking about that now. Maybe for the audio listeners, because we have plenty of those. Maybe we should start calling out our rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
That's so smart.
Because I'm just thinking, like, I'm 15th episode. That's probably just like really weird dead air for 10 seconds. Yeah.
That's not dead air. That's crispiness.
But hey, just another minor improvement that we can make here.
Yes, that 1%. All right. So, my nerdy topic today, Austin, I've talked a lot about a lot of different stuff. I've talked from Star Wars to anime to superheroes and stuff like that. Ew, gross. So, I thought, I was trying to think, what's a more generalized topic? Because I've been pretty niche lately. I've been pretty niche. And what is a topic that I kind of want to discuss with you a little more and kind of teach those more rugged ball side about here today.
The bare bones.
Yes, the bare bones. Yes. So this is something that most stories have, not just nerdy stuff, but most stories have. And the best ones of these go on to do gangbusters.
Okay.
So Austin, today I am going to be talking about world building.
World building. Okay. Okay. I think by world building, I'm assuming you don't mean super fun castles in Minecraft.
No. But that you could do world building in that.
You
That could turn to world building. Austin, thank you for asking what world building is. So, world building. This is the process of creating the settings, the rules, the culture, the history, and the reality of a story what a story takes place in. So these would be things like the physicality, the culture, the rules, like stuff like that and stuff. So, Austin, what is your favorite universe?
My favorite universe. Wow, that is hit me with a tough one right off the get go here. I'm gonna have to dig here for a second. The first one that comes to mind is the MCU, but I don't know if that is technically my favorite. Really cool, really enjoy it. I think they do a really good job building that universe as well. I kind of want to go with The Walking Dead almost.
Okay.
I think the way they built that show up is really interesting and is why people fell in love with it to begin with. Those would be my two top ones that come to mind right away. I'm trying to think in a video game sense, because those are obviously more TV show, movie related.
We deal with that too on the blaster side.
I guess younger me would be like I always thought because the Call of Duties used to be related, especially the Modern Warfares. I always enjoyed the world building they would do there. So I guess those would be my three favorite examples off the top of my dome here.
Well, perfect. Those would be. We'll get to those kinds in a little bit here, but when you think about your favorite universe, you fall in love with the story and the characters, But you also, for a lot of these worlds, you kind of wonder, how do these world systems work?
Right.
Like we said with The Walking Dead, there's zombies, and how does zombification work? And all that plays a huge part in the story. That's it. It's that added layer of that story, where the story is about these characters, and they're like, for the Walking Dead example, them trying to survive. But what are they trying to survive from? And it's these zombies and the zombification, and how the world has gone to ruins and stuff like that here. And then when you think about world building, you ask what is the world like? That's the kind of the first general question you ask when you are building a world. So the MCU, for example, what is that world like? It's a little bit more scientific and mysterious and stuff like that. I'll give an example here of Game of Thrones. What is that world like? It's medieval. There's a little bit of magic, but it's still kind of a world we know and stuff.
Right.
And then the biggest thing for a story in world building is, what are those rules, that logic, or the societal? How do they shape the characters' lives in that world? It's another big question to ask when you are looking at world building, or maybe even making your own world. So, what makes and then the last question you want to ask is, what makes that world different from our world? I don't know if it could be something huge, like in Halo. There's Earth, yeah, but there's all these other planets and stuff, and that is world building as well. The universe that it's in, not just the planet.
Right.
But Halo, you see Call of Duty. How is that world different from our world? Stuff like that. You want to ask those questions. So now that we have the questions you want to ask when you are looking at world building, we're gonna get to kind of the main. I think it is 5 or I think it's 6. It is 6. The 6 kind of main things that that you kind of gotta take into world building and think about for these stories. Like, these are the what the world looks like and what it feels like. So we got the physical world building part, which
Mm-hmm.
this is the geography, the climate, the cities, population, the landscapes, the monuments, all that stuff here. It's like the physical world building stuff. Um, these kind of shape how that world operates.
Mm-hmm.
So, for an example, like Dune, Dune,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
that's that desert world where it's scientific, yes, but these characters have to survive on this planet that's all desert. So the water is very, very sparse.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that shape how these characters would interact and stuff like that? You have One Piece. One Piece is an anime. It's got over 1,000 episodes, and that world is 4 times bigger than Earth, and it's mostly covered in water with this giant strip of land going across the world. It's just a giant strip, and then a ton of islands just dotted all over the world. So it's a pirate anime. So it's the whole point of that is they're sailing around the world. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how they get around, is sailing, because the whole world is water and
Right.
there's not a whole lot of actual big land in it. You got Game of Thrones, you got Westeros versus Essos, where Westeros is that more medieval European style area here, and then Essos is long, and the further you go, the more or the, I guess, the less understanding you would have about that world as well. And this is going to be a theme for this episode here. Finally, we have Avatar: The Last Airbender. So Avatar: The Last Airbender has these 4 nations that have each have control over their world. They have like the Fire Nation, which has the islands. We have the Earth Nation, or the Earth Kingdom, which has the giant landmass. We have the Water Tribes, which are at the North and South Pole, and then we have the Air Nomads, which are all in like the mountainy areas where it's hard to reach,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of shapes how these cultures interact with each other and the world around it. So now that I asked you what your favorite universe is, for all the franchises, what is your favorite like world, like geography? Yeah, in geography standards.
Oof.
If you don't have an answer, that's okay.
I'll take a second to think here. Um, like specifically like land formation.
Exactly, yeah. And if it's just like a Earth franchise, that's totally fine too.
Yes, I'm just trying to think. Um, I have an answer. I think I'm just trying to think of other TV shows and maybe other things I've experienced. Um, yeah, it's a tough one. I guess just for the sake of conversation, have you seen the TV show The 100?
Yes, I have.
In the beginning of that show, I mean, underrated TV show, weird TV show,
Mm-hmm.
but it's enjoyable in my opinion. For those that don't know, a quick background on the 100. It's just Earth. I think it was like nuclear warfare wiped it all out, and society was forced up into space. And then they're like, okay, we need to try take over Earth again, and they sent 100 people back down to Earth to try and see if it's still safe. Yada yada yada. But it's one of those TV shows where it's got the vibe of there's different tribes, and there's people that are very good about living in the woods. But I think if I remember right, there's like a huge mountain,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like one of the first very scary. Like, oh no, we got to deal with the people that live on the mountain,
Yeah, no,
and it shapes the storyline of that arc of episodes or whatever.
exactly. So yeah, that I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, that mountain is like, hey, everything around that mountain, it's dangerous
Mm-hmm.
because it's a mountain, whatever. But that's more of the people in it. But yeah, um, the main thing of in geography of world building is not making an entirely new world. It is modifying Earth in some way. So you have shows like The Walking Dead, we have Marvel and DC.
Mm-hmm.
We have Assassin's Creed, which is a very slight modification of Earth.
Right.
But it's still that modification. Call of Duty is just different history.
Right.
There's not much modification in that geography as well here. Yeah, that's the first step you gotta really take is that physical. What does your world look like? That because that shapes the rest of the story. That shapes the rest of the history of the world.
What I'm gathering from this is like you can have your story and your characters and your setting down to a T, but it's just like, okay, why?
Exactly. Like what, like in Dune, like if they were on a tropical wet planet, it wouldn't make sense for them to have these water
Right.
you know
And it's okay. This cool concept. It's an all desert planet. People survive on. Okay, why? Why is it all desert? What's the point of it?
Yes, exactly. Like how do these people survive on it? So
Mm-hmm.
we'll get to that next. Actually, now you want to think about the culture. Now you've had, hey, here's what the world looks like. Is it like Earth? Is it different? What's weird about it? So the culture of the world building is the beliefs, the customs, the politics, the laws, the class systems, the religion, the languages of it. I can give an example of J.R.R. Tolkien made made a whole new language with the Lord of the Rings,
Yes.
just for his world building.
Mm-hmm.
This is how people in that world live day to day. I think one of the biggest representations of this, if you ever heard of it, ever seen it, Warhammer 40K.
I have not seen that one.
40K is literally what sounds 400 or 40,000. It's set in the year 40,000, where there's like all these chaos demons in space, and humanity is this giant religious cult of people, and it kind of shapes the way people live, and people are like they're taught of like as being like fodder and stuff like that, but like all the culture surrounding the religion and stuff like that, and then these aliens and the xenophobia and stuff, and there's other aliens that also hate each other, stuff like that, just how people live and what their customs are. One of my favorite representations of culture in things is the Elder Scrolls series. You all know how much I love the Elder Scrolls here.
Mm-hmm.
A hot button topic right now because Elder Scrolls 6 is not coming anytime soon.
Sad.
I know, but you have like the world building of Tamriel is this giant continent, and there's a ton of different races. There's elves, humans, but there's different kinds of elves, and there's different kinds of humans, and there's Khajiit, which are the cat people. There's Argonians, which are lizard people. There's orcs, which are technically elves, but they're more like orcs in regular fantasy. There's all these different races, and then there's the religion. There's the debate between the 8 and the 9 divines, but every other culture has their own gods. There's the diversity within those cultures as well. Like there's the east versus west Skyrim. There's the north versus south Khajiit. There's the Imperials. There's the just different lands and stuff like that. The elves, why do the high elves hate all the other elves? Like there's just all these different cultures, how they live and breathe in this world, what they do every day today, what the average person is like in that world.
Mm-hmm.
You want to establish that. You want to combine that with what your geography is saying too. Like the people in the desert area of the world probably are either going to be super generous because they need to survive, or they're going to be very selfish because they're trying to survive. It's that two extremes of like that. You build a culture around that.
Right.
It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just have a generic farm in the middle of a desert that
Right.
It has to be different. I know we're talking about deserts a lot, but deserts like one of the coolest ways of world building.
Right. Well, it's almost like a blank canvas too. It's like there's very strict rules about a desert, and it doesn't have to be sand either. There are like isn't Antarctica a desert?
Antarctica's technically a desert.
But there's very strict rules, but still a lot of blank space to work with, which I think is a neat concept.
Here, back to it. Avatar: The Last Airbender. You have the 4 nations. You have the Fire Nation, who kind of has the superiority complex. Have the Earth Nation, which they're a lot of people, very spread out, and Earth is a hard like substance or whatever, and solid. So all these people are more rugged and living off the land and stuff. The water tribes, they're cold and desolate. So their cultures, they have to work together and they're very intertwined. And the air nomads, these people can live in mountains. They can basically essentially fly around and stuff. So they are nomadic. They're free because of the way their element is.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the highest population is these earth kingdoms because they have the most land and they're like infrastructure is easy built. Now they are the poorest though as well typically because Earth doesn't have as many or Earth it's easy to build something like that and stuff, but then they're mostly farmers, whereas the Fire Nation's the wealthiest because they can create heat and fire. But and then the air nomads are the least. I mean, the last Airbender, but before that happens, with the killing of the Airbenders, like they're still the least populous element in the world because they're nomadic. They don't have set families,
right,
and stuff like that. So now that we've established the geography of the physical world and the culture of the world, now we have the rules of the world. So why are things the way they are? Like what sets us apart? These are mainly stuff like magic systems, or the technology rules, or the power systems, or the limitations of those systems and magic systems. So I think the biggest, easiest example I can give is Star Wars with the Force. Like there's that magic system of what are the rules of the Force? How does the Force work? You say like Han Solo, that's not how the Force works because the Force can do a lot, but it can't do everything. So what are those rules of that power system?
And I think that's that's what's intriguing about the Force in that sense is like you could just make it to where it can do anything and everything, but then it almost makes it boring at that point. There's no reason for struggle or for it to like have any sort of like effect, like major effects. It's I like the idea that okay, yes, you can just say there's a magic or a force or a rule, but why is the rule in place? I keep coming back to that. I just the why.
Exactly, and that's what you should be asking in these world building like systems is what are those, why is it there, how does it shape the people around as well, and then what are those limitations? Because like you said, if it's an all powerful force like the Force, it's boring. But if it has super strict limitations, it's also not very fun.
Right.
So it has to be that fine line of where do you stop that line on the can it do this but not this. But I think the Force is probably the biggest example of that. And then the rules too also include technology. How does technology work in this world? How does like Star Wars? How does space travel? They can jump light speed. They can do all this, and stuff blows up in space. So there's weirdly technically an atmosphere in space,
right,
and stuff like that.
And like, we just like, you know what? It's cool, so I'm in.
No, exactly, yeah. It's like, how does stuff work? It doesn't have to work like our universe works.
Right.
It can be different. It has to be consistent.
Right.
Like a system, if it's not consistent, then it runs into a problem. This is a little more of a niche reference, but I love it, and it's for the people that I tried to put on it. And Austin, I recommend you watching it. One of my favorite magic systems or like power systems in general is Black Clover. It's an anime, and the people in there get these grimoires, these books that when they reach age and they have these like magic powers in it. And so like one of the main characters, she has water powers, and her whole family has water powers except for her father had water powers, and her mom had metal powers. So she's got water powers from her dad, but her mom was metal. So her older brother has a mixture of the two.
Hmm.
So he has like mercury mercury powers. So it's like a fluid metal.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
That's cool.
yeah, exactly. So it's like these systems like, hey, these two can make that, and a cool
Yeah.
new magic system. And then she's royalty, so she has more magic than a lot of people on her team. Like there's another guy who has he just has fire magic, and he's like a peasant, so doesn't have a lot of magic. So he's still like good. He's better at like being more clever with his magic,
Mm-hmm.
but he's not as powerful as her solely based that he doesn't have as much magic in his blood.
I know it's almost like stating the obvious, but the rules essentially dictate how each separate entity in your universe interacts with each other.
Exactly.
You know, it's essentially defining, you know, how everything interacts with each other is what I'm gathering from this.
Yes, exactly. So it's like if you establish early on, let's say you establish early on you have the force. The force can't set fire to things. The force should never be able to set fire to things.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if you can make it a way to how, hey, you can like kind of set something on fire with something else and move the force with that too.
Mm-hmm.
That's a rule you can establish too. But
Right.
then for those the consistency aspect as well. If you later on make so the force can set fire to things, that's bad. But
Right.
so that rules would be you can't set fire to thing, but you can take fire from something and set something else on
Right.
fire. Like that's
Yes.
how that interacts with other things in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to say it again. You notice the theme here because I said at the beginning, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Their power system, one of I think the best power system in all of, nerdy culture and stuff like that. You have the four elements. You have earth, fire, air, and water. And like I said, these elements also shape how these cultures interact with each other. The Fire Nation is at an advantage because water and earth need water and earth to be able to bend.
Mm-hmm.
Fire, you just need oxygen.
Right.
Yeah, air, you need air to flow, but like that's kind of the same thing. Yeah, fire, you don't need a fire source to use your power.
Right.
Whereas a water, you need to have water, and there's many times where Katara, she's the main water user in the show, she carries around like a pouch of water because water's not always going to be near her.
Mm-hmm.
So she has that so that she can actually still use her powers.
Right.
And I know it's established early on that earthbenders can't bend metal, but Toph in the show, she can like sense earth. Like she's blind, so like she can sense earth with like vibrations. And so she finds the the earth in the metal, and she can bend that metal because she can find that earth in there.
Right.
So that's not breaking the rule.
She's not bending metal, she's bending the earth within the metal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like it's this thing of like when she bends the metal, it's not smooth. It's like almost like you're like crashing something and like tearing it because it's not like she's not discreetly or like smoothly bending the metal. It's like she's literally like pulling at it.
Right.
So that rule has been established that that you can bend earth. You can't bend metal, but you can bend it in that earth.
Right. You can use the earth to bend other things.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's blood bending as well, which Katara learns, which it can.
It's such a gnarly thing to think about.
Oh gosh, yeah, it's so sick. Like it's established that you can bend blood, but only during a full moon because the moon, when the moon is at its like peak, that's when waterbenders get their power or have the most power, and then when the sun's at its peak, that's when firebenders get their most power. When the moon's at its full power or at its peak, and it's a full moon, that's when their bending is the strongest, so they can find that like water in the blood and bend it.
That's neat. I like that.
And yeah, Aang, the main character, he can he has this glider that he can essentially fly with because he can bend the currents around the glider to continuously fly. So stuff like that. And then, you know, firebenders, it shapes how they are too, because they're very like imperialistic compared to the other nations, because they don't need their element to be around them to bend their element, so they're always at an advantage.
Right.
Sorry, I'm the one coughing first. And yeah, and then there's those aspects. Sorry, I was gonna make this joke later. This is essentially gonna be the pseudo Avatar episode, because I just love it so much, and it's the perfect like world.
Well, it works. It works.
Exactly. And then there's these things where if you're an earthbender too, you can also have a special ability if you like there's in the Legend of Korra, which is later on, there's a guy named Mako, which is he's an earthbender. His brother's a firebender. So one of his parents was an earthbender, and his other parent was a firebender. So he can bend lava.
Okay.
Because it's technically just molten rock, but it's really hard to bend. But he has like that. He has that firebender parent. So he can bend that lava because it's like he's more in tune with that heat side of it.
Right.
Yeah. So then there's that lightning bending as well, where lightning bending only the royalty can do it. Avatar does. The Legend of Korra does ruin some of what Avatar does build. I will state that if you just go by the 3 seasons of Avatar. So we have the rule systems now. So we have physical, we have culture, we have the rules. Now we get to the lore and the history of a world. So this, you've established what what your world looks like, what the people in that world do, and those rules in that world. Now, you don't just pick up a book and that's where the universe starts. You know, depending on what kind of story you're writing or what kind of story it is, there's a lot of things that have happened before this.
Right.
You know, and these are things like wars, big events, myths, even, what led us to this point?
Right.
How did we get here, essentially? That's the question you got to ask. And I think the best example of this is Lord of the Rings. Bar none, J.R.R. Tolkien went hard on his history.
And certainly for a story like that, which is, it's Earth adjacent, but it's not the same thing as Earth, and it's almost like, where the hell are we?
It's Middle Earth.
Right. It's like, where the hell are we? What is everything I'm looking at? So that's like I better explain everything, and it better be interesting when I explain it.
By golly, it is. You got all these different races and cultures. We wouldn't have half the stories that we have today without J.R.R. Tolkien. I'll just say that. But you have like the world, even the religion, and how that religion is actually part of that world in a real way. You have like just the whole point of Lord of the Rings is Sauron he wants to get that ring back. He wants to be powerful. He wants to rule over all of Middle Earth, because he's back. So I think, yeah, and that does because that your history will be what your story is very heavily dependent on.
Right. And part of the lore for Lord of the Rings is like why the ring is so important.
Exactly. Yeah. And it even says like, oh, there's like all these rings that were made, but this is like the most powerful.
Yes.
We're gonna go back to Game of Thrones, which does do a very good job of its history. George R.R. Martin, he went also ham on his world and its history. You have like these thousands of years of this one family ruling, and then these dragons happening, and the beyond the wall happening, and all these political things that a lot of times it will even not even matter in the story, but it's nice to have.
Right.
Of like, well, like if you, like a one-off comment of, oh, why, like why are you here? Oh, my dad was this of this, just stuff like that.
It can be seen as minor, almost like unnecessary detail, but I think those are the things that help detail like this main story does affect the entire universe that we're in.
Ex-
You know.
Exactly. Like every story is gonna have history to it.
Mm-hmm.
Your characters are gonna have some history with each other, or uh, other people in the story as well. And I wanted to bring this up. The only reason I got this one because I knew you know a little bit about it. Is Assassin's Creed. That's all about history.
Right.
That's that world building of, hey, my ancestors did this, and that's why we're here right now. Which I think it's a great example of why is Desmond in this cave? It's because of all this that happened.
I really like in that game how like you're essentially the story is like it intertwines like three different eras because there's like the modern times where they're going back in time to figure out what the hell happened, and then the main story part of the game is like the back in time, but even that part of the game is worried about what happened way before them
Exactly.
to even get to that point. So
and that's the thing is like I think that's one of the most perfect representations of a story. Will, no matter where you're at in that story, there's something happened before.
right.
Like, we are not here because of what happened in the future or the present. We are here because of what happened in the past.
Right.
Like, if your like character steals a priceless artifact, where did that artifact come from and why is it so priceless? Like, stuff like that is still important.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even like if they get in trouble because they stole a priceless artifact and now they're on the run and that's the story, that either happened before the story started or that happened during the story. But again, why is this guy after you? Why is this artifact so important to this guy that's after you?
Why should I care about a guy running away from somebody else?
Exactly.
You know?
It's like there's reasons and history and lore that need to be established for your story as well. And yes, we're back to it again. Avatar: The Last Airbender. This one, it's there is a lot of lore about what happened before Aang, and it is important. But I think one of the coolest parts about Avatar is that the story does start technically 100 years later. Then because and you kind of see that it's the whole story is because Aang got essentially frozen for 100 years, and he's set into the future. He is essentially set into the future, and he is now dealing with the consequences of he's the last Airbender.
Mm-hmm.
There's no of his people left because of this. Now he has to stop the what's it called, unaliving of
yeah
of all the other people, or the rule of the Fire Nation. Oh, that was close. It establishes that 100 years has happened now since Aang has gotten frozen and everything's messed up now, and that's why. And then there's even parts of the story where people like will interact with him, like the older generation doesn't like Aang very much. A lot of them don't, because he was supposed to save them, but where was he? Because the Avatar was supposed to save them, and he never showed up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's stuff like that, where the younger generation believes in Aang because he's a kid or whatever. So now that we've established all of those are like the meat. Now we gotta get to the potatoes. The consistency of your world.
Mm-hmm.
Your world has to be consistent. It's not consistent, it's not interesting.
Right.
Like the rules. Your rules need to be consistent. That is number one, I think, for the consistency part. If you change your rules in any way, and it's not established before, or it doesn't make sense in your world building kind of falls apart.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get to an example in here a little bit. Your geography, it shouldn't change without explanation.
Right.
Like, you shouldn't be, where's this mountain gone? It's like, oh, the mountain got blown up. And if that works in your world, explain it like that. You can't just like not have a mountain
Right.
like where there's always been a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have a house where there's always been a house without explaining, oh yeah, it got torn down and a new house has gotten built. Just stuff like that. Your culture should match your world and the world's logic. That's going back to that desert thing again of like you can't have this like I mean you can you gotta be a reason for it though of in this desert, why are these people super prosperous and happy?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like not saying that people in the desert can't be happy, but it's like the desert is a hard place to live. So what are they doing to be happy and prosperous?
Right. It's like after a bunch of time, like, okay, they can be in a really, really good spot, but there should still be that aspect of water is still really important.
Mm-hmm.
And like that should still, you know, affect their storyline. Even if they have more access to it now or it's more available than it was then, it's still valuable to them, you know?
Exactly. Or it's like, oh yeah, we built this aqueduct to get it to us. That aqueduct's got to be the most important part of that city.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like if that aqueduct fails, we fail. So it's like then that city should have like a lot of their workers or stuff be guards around the aqueduct or just stuff like that, you know. But the culture is like that of that. Hey, we almost even like for an extreme example, like worshiping that water in that
Yeah.
aqueduct
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. Yeah, and I just want to say, being consistent is better than being extremely needlessly complex.
I agree.
100%. Like again, like going back to that desert again. Yeah, you can have all these things of like this aqueduct and like, oh, we get this water from here and the water comes from there and like that's cool and stuff like that. Why not just have it? We get this water from here and that's how it's always been. You don't need a super in-depth explanation. Just be consistent about yes, this is where we get water. You can't change of like, oh, we get water from this town, but this town blew up now.
Mm-hmm.
And you're still getting water. How are you still getting water?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So obviously, my good example of this is Avatar. We're not gonna talk about Legend of Korra. It kind of breaks some stuff here, but it's mainly consistent. But Avatar, everything in it is established. The world is established. The ending, the way Aang defeats the Fire Lord. I'm not gonna spoil that because I do love it, but like he does do it though. That's a little spoiler, I guess. But the way he does it, it's established very early on how he does it. It actually is expanded in the Legend of Korra. But two big examples: Disney Star Wars is a bad example of world building consistency. You know, the Force can just do whatever it wants now.
Mm-hmm.
How we don't know. Light speed travel can break through ships now. When it's so, why wouldn't you be just using light speed torpedoes?
Yeah.
All the time, you know, just stuff like that. Just like really inconsistent stuff of the Force can just do this now. Like what? It was never established I can do this, and why wasn't it established I can do this? Stuff like that. And then Game of Thrones season 8 as well, where it took 3 whole seasons for a character from going to the south to the north. It takes them 1 episode now.
Yeah.
Like what? Why are we doing this? How are we fast traveling essentially between places where it took us a whole season to get to one place to the other?
That's always something it's not like a strong dislike, but when it comes to like movies or TV shows, like like you're just saying, we spent a full season in this one area and it was a struggle just to get down the road. And then in season 2, you know, between episodes 2 and 3, like a month passed, and then between episodes 4 and 5, a year passed or something, you know, extreme like that. Like, how did it just get so easy to just skip time?
No,
why does time need to be skipped?
You know, exactly. And like if you're gonna skip time too, have a good reason for it. Like, don't do that unless it's like this whole season is the growth or like the essentially like the years, and like every so often we check back in. All right. So the last thing is immersion. your world needs to feel alive.
Yes.
You take all the things I've gathered here and you put them, and it needs to feel alive.
Mm-hmm.
The world needs to feel lived in, not just a backdrop for your characters
Mm-hmm.
to sit in. These are the small details, like foods that are exclusive to the world. These are like background characters that that you wouldn't find in real life. These are exclusive. Like if you have like a in Star Wars like a light speed mechanic. Let's do something simple. That wouldn't be something in the real world, but like you just have a guy working on the ship on the light speed thing. That's building that world.
Mm-hmm.
That's you have in Avatar you have a performer who uses fire to kind of control like a fire dragon because it's like a performance. Just stuff like that of like the fire isn't only for fighting, it's also for entertainment.
Yes.
What the bending is. Just like random signs stating what things are around your character.
I guess my brain immediately goes to like the first time I was ever in New York City
Mm-hmm.
and just standing on a corner of Times Square and just not moving, just observing and looking around and seeing all the way everybody and its environment interacts with each other, which has like nothing to do with my main story,
Mm-hmm.
but it's all background noise that, you don't really
Yeah.
pay attention to all the time.
Yeah. The irrelevant characters make your story relevant.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how you can explain it. And I think this is very most true in if you have a power system, having like those novice users
Mm.
of that power system. Like let's go back to Avatar. Like having like just like soldiers who aren't like amazing at their bending, but they're like decently, or like there's a bender that uses his bending to plow the field, like just stuff like that of like
Mm-hmm.
how it's used in everyday life as well. Or you have, let's say in the Black Clover stuff, like you have those, they're not as good as the main characters, but they're still there using their magic as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like just having those people that aren't as good but still using those systems
Mm-hmm.
for that. And then yeah, this caps off at all these build long-term franchises. This is why I think stuff like Star Wars, Marvel, DC, Avatar, The Last Airbender, and yes, even Harry Potter have lasted so long. It's just that world that is so immersive and makes the person want to live in that world or
Right.
see what else is happening. Because worlds like this generate spin-offs and sequels, and because people want more stories
Right.
in that world. They don't just fall in love with that with a character or that story. They fall in love with the whole universe of these characters and the story and those systems. So a good world does invite pretty good stories, and yeah, a good world makes you want to feel like you want to live in it.
Would like The Mandalorian be an example of that? It was like the
Like a
fans
spin-off.
just spin off and fans falling in love with something that isn't the main part of the show, but
Exactly. Yeah. It's that you don't need. I mean, in the later seasons, it kind of introduced a lot of the same characters, but you did like the first season. You didn't need you don't meet a single character that you met before in that first season, and people loved it. And it's in that world where we've always have established like hundreds of characters.
heck yeah, dude. It's a very interesting choice of topic. I really enjoyed that. It's like you led with, it's not niche. It pertains to quite literally everything we consume.
Exactly. Like
You know?
like every story has some sort of world. Even if it is like if you go watch Friends, that isn't our reality. That is a slightly different reality. Like they have their own world building technically in there.
Mm-hmm. Which I think it's another unique way to consume media, whether it be a video game, a movie, or TV show, or or whatever. It can even make you think differently about just like driving down the road to work, in your own life. So yes, Kale, that was awesome. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you. I'm excited to hear about basketball.
Ah, I chose a fantastic episode to have the most notes I've ever had. So, all right, we're making good time. I am going to try. I'm going to take care. I have notes for a reason. We'll get through them, but I am a little sick, so bear with me. I apologize for my coughing and my sniffling. So, Caleb, we do have a basketball topic today. I said I was workshopping something last week. I threw that workshopping out the window.
And you landed into basketball.
It landed in the trash basket, per se. Maybe I'll come back to it. I don't think so. I was inspired by my storytelling of The Curse of the Bambino, episode 14, last episode, check it out. And I was like, okay, what's an interesting basketball story I can tell? And the very first one that came to mind was a very infamous event, probably the most infamous event in history of the NBA, called the Malice at the Palace.
The Malice at the Palace.
Does this ring a bell to you, Caleb?
It does not. And it's funny enough, I know this week's episode, I know kind of what Austin's topic is today because I asked him for it because I was trying to make a thumbnail earlier. So it has to pertain to basketball. So I know that it's a fight. I know that it's a fight. It's just I've never heard of this before.
All right, perfect. Well, you go learn today.
Heck yeah.
All right, the Malice at the Palace. Let's start with what in the world is it? It sounds very, very, very intense, and it was. So this takes place during a November 19th, 2004 NBA regular season game. The two teams in the contest are the Indiana Pacers and the Detroit Pistons. The Detroit Pistons are the defending NBA champions.
This is 2004, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Which, like, chronologically is like this literally happened chronologically right after my last story.
Oh, really?
Because the last story ends like late October of 2004. Now we're mid-November of 2004. I didn't do that on purpose, but it works out.
I can't wait till January 2005.
Yeah, right. What the hell happened then? So yes, Indiana Pacers, Detroit Pistons. Pistons are the reigning NBA champions. I believe they went through the Indiana Pacers to get that title somewhere along their playoff run. This game is taking place at the Palace of Auburn Hills, Michigan. Auburn Hills is a suburb of Detroit.
Oh, I did not know that.
I didn't know this either until The referees for this contest are Tim Donaghy, Ron Garrettson, and Tommy Nunez Jr.
Oh, I know this is going to be good if you're bringing out the referees' names.
Kind of, sort of. I just wanted to make it a note because, so Ron Garrettson and Tommy Nunez Jr., just brief reading on them. They're good officials. They officiated a long time, NBA Finals, all that stuff. Tim Donaghy is a name for all my basketball fans out there, is very infamous in his own right because shortly after this, like not the same season, but I think in a couple years from now, he gets suspended indefinitely from the NBA because he was in a betting scandal in rigging basketball games.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which is maybe that's a topic. Maybe that's my next NBA topic. I don't know, because there's a lot of sports betting drama going on in the sports world, NBA included. It was a game that was this is important because it was broadcast nationally on ESPN. So the whole NBA universe is watching this game. And the Associated Press labeled this event as the most infamous brawl in NBA history. So like I said, basketball adjacent.
Have there been a lot of fights in basketball?
More than you think. The 80s and 90s basketball was physical. I would say the 80s and 90s gets this rough and tough era vibe, mainly because the peak physicality was as physical as the league had ever been. There were some batshit crazy fouls. Like the first one that comes to mind is it's one of the NBA finals between the Lakers and the Celtics in the 80s. And I think it's Kurt Rambis. He's a forward slash center for the Lakers. He's on the fast break going for a layup. And Kevin McHale, a forward slash center for the Celtics, comes in and just WWE clotheslines him to stop him. Just a common foul. Didn't get suspended from the game.
Well, that's so odd because I'm gonna mention this. Basketball is definitely the sport I watch the most currently, and it's not a very right now. Modern basketball is not a very physical game.
No, I was watching a video on YouTube the other day about just the style of play used to be more vertical, meaning guys would go up in the air to score their points. Whereas today's NBA is more horizontal, where they're focused on going around everybody to score their points. So it's a different style of play, and yeah, physicality is obviously not rewarded typically.
And I think the rules too of like that you said that was just a common foul. That would be like you're done playing basketball.
Probably be suspended for some games.
Yeah.
Yes. so, but to your initial point. There's not a lot of brawls. Usually it's just like a quick fight that gets broken up. But this, it started with that and it got so much
just
worse.
Just like any other sport. Or any other sport, but there's like sometimes there's brawls happen.
Right. So, okay. So that's what this is, the Malice at the Palace, where in a regular season game early in the season between the Indiana Pacers, the Detroit Pistons, we're at the Palace of Auburn Hills in Auburn Hills, Michigan, where the Detroit Pistons used to play. So the lead up to this event, so right here, they met in the Eastern Conference Finals last playoffs. So the Pistons beat the Pacers to go to the NBA Finals. This is the first time meeting since that series. Indiana's having a good start to the season. Detroit is not really. Pacers pretty much control this game from start to finish. It was never a contest I was really in doubt. Just some fun stat lines from the game. For the Indiana Pacers, Ron Artest, who is very important, the main character to the story. He had 24 points. He had a good game. Jermaine O'Neal, he had 20 points and 13 rebounds. Jamal Tinsley, he had 13 points, 8 rebounds, or 8 assists, 8 steals. And for the Pistons, Richard Hamilton, 20 points. Rasheed Wallace, 19 points, 10 rebounds. Ben Wallace, not related. Ben Wallace is important to the story. 13 points, 10 rebounds. Just some guys that played in that game that might come up later. And so foreshadowing is correct. This was like I said, this game wasn't hotly contested. The Pacers led 97-82 at the end of the game here. But despite the lopsided score, pretty much all the star players were still playing in the game, which is, I guess, not crazy. It's early in the season because you want to get them reps and whatnot, but notable.
I mean, that's also like a close enough game to be like, hey, they like just
in today's NBA, yes, 15 points in today's NBA is nothing. Back then, 3-point shooting was just starting to become popular. There wasn't a whole lot of 3-point aces per se. Still very much, get to the rim kind of offense.
So this is more like 30 points, you're saying?
Yeah, it was, the game was over. The game was over. So that's our what is it? That's our lead up / background. Now we get to a point in time where sports history was changed.
With the Malice.
That's literally what this section is called. With 45.9 seconds left in the fourth quarter, Pistons center Ben Wallace is going up for a layup, and he's fouled / slapped in the back of the head by Ron Artest while attempting this layup. Ron Artest for the Pacers, Ben Wallace for the home Detroit Pistons. Ben Wallace didn't like this. He responded by turning around and shoving Ron Artest in the face with both hands, almost like pass pro by an NFL offensive lineman. It's important to know this is like I talk about with Kevin McHale clotheslining Kurt Rambis, it's essentially just a hard foul. It's like, oh, you'll shoot free throws, but we're not going to suspend you for this kind of thing.
Okay, so it's like your team's gonna suffer. You personally,
Right.
won't.
It's just annoying if you're Ben Wallace because you're getting blown out. The game was almost over. It's like, let me get my layup, dude. Like, you guys are going to dribble out the clock anyways. So Ben Wallace responds by shoving Artest in the face. They start jawing back and forth and confronting each other. All the players on the floor immediately jumped in between the two. Like, okay, let's just walk away. Let's be done with this. This game's over, Eventually, the officials on hand were able to separate the teams, and the officials were at midcourt discussing, team fouls, ejections, what should go on, what should happen. I guess it's important to know that Steven Jackson, I think he was a guard for Indiana. He was doing a lot of jawing towards the Pistons and instigating them and whatnot. You can tell there's a brewing rivalry here. I don't know exactly. They might be in the same division too. They're very close in proximity, so they might be even in the same division, not just the same conference. So they play each other a lot. Mike Breen, who was the play-by-play commentator for this game on ESPN, he was concerned another incident would arise because he figured that Ben Wallace, the guy who got fouled, again, hard foul, not dirty per se, turned around and immediately shoved Artest in the face. Breen was concerned that Ben Wallace was going to get ejected in order to leave the arena, would have to walk by the Indiana Pacers bench, and that might set off more fireworks on his way off the court. Little did he know that should have been the least of his concerns.
God.
I have notes, Caleb.
I say that is a wall.
It's just a wall of red ink. Rest in peace to my black ink pen. Again, just because, much like my last two episodes, I have my second page is just like, here's everything that went down.
Also, side note, I never noticed how you write notes. You write half, or like a third of the page in.
Yeah, I try to type up my notes as if I was in a Word document.
Oh, and then so you have spots for extra notes.
Right.
Oh, cool.
Because my main wall of text is what I need to say, and then descriptors are on the sides and whatnot. Kind of like commenting on a Word doc or whatever. So, as I stated, the refs were in the middle of the court discussing what's going on. The teams are separated. Okay, the fireworks are over. We're gonna get an ejection or two, some technicals. We're gonna shoot some free throws. Let's get the hell out of here. It's November. Okay, the season's barely even started.
Guys, we got a whole 100 more games to play.
While the refs were huddled, Ron Artest, the guy that committed the foul on Ben Wallace, he walked over to the scorer's table and proceeded to lay down on top of the scorer's table. So, on the side of the court in the NBA, on one side, on the far side, there's home bench. On the other far side, there's the visitor bench. Maybe there's some front row seats in between them. And then in the middle of the court, there's the scorer's table. That's where, the public address announcer is going to sit. The official scorekeeper is going to sit there. That's why the referees are always going over there to talk to them. And for some arenas, that's where a lot of, that's where the ESPN guys are going to sit. That's where the home broadcasters or radio guys are going to sit to take in the game.
The spot that that's where you get, if you're going to get subbed in, that's where you go and stand by.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So Ron Artest goes over and just lays down on the scorer's table. Why did he do this? One, because Ron Artest is a very interesting individual, just in and of himself. Artest has a fiery personality, and he received some advice during anger management classes to just, when you're in a tough situation where anger is boiling, just take a deep breath and just lay down. just lay down. So that's what he was doing. He was in a very odd place.
Hey, you know what works?
He just goes and again, you could find this video on YouTube, but he's essentially just like on his elbow, laying on his side on the scorer's table.
It didn't work well, though, I'm gonna guess.
So while he's doing this, Artest puts on a headset. So the Indiana Pacers, I don't know if it was the radio guys or the TV guys, or it says radio, he's laying right in front of them, and he grabs one of their headsets and starts talking to Mark Boyle. He's the radio play-by-play guy for the Pacers at the time. And essentially, like, his headset wasn't on because Mark Boyle was like, yeah, there's no way in hell in this moment we're giving you an open mic. Yeah. Not happening. But they let him put it on. They're jibber jabbering back and forth, whatever, no harm, no foul, not a big deal. Meanwhile, players and coaches started gathering at midcourt again to try and calm down Ben Wallace. Because, again, he was upset about getting slapped in the back of the head for seemingly no reason. It should be noted that leaving the bench when you're not in the game is a no-no. You get an automatic 1-game suspension.
Oh.
And there was only one guy, Tayshaun Prince, who never left the bench in this whole scene. I don't know. He's probably in the back. He's like, I'm not getting suspended.
So the next game, he got a lot of minutes.
Probably did, yes. So Ben Wallace at midcourt being calmed down by players and coaches. Ron Artest talking to Mark Boyle, laying down on the scorer's table. Ben Wallace is yelling at Artest and decides to throw a towel at Ron Artest. Just a Gatorade towel. Just chucks it at him.
He's just sitting there like...
as he's still upset. Artest, of course, briefly stands up, but he was held back by his own coaches and teammate Reggie Miller. It's like, okay, fine. Just stay away. Now they're jibber-jabbering at each other again. It's like, okay, this is not what we need right now. And then, out of nowhere, all hell breaks loose. Why? Because a man by the name of John Green, he's a Pistons fan, throws and hits Ron Artest with a plastic cup of Diet Coke.
This guy's not a player or like...
Just a fan. Chucks a plastic cup full of what was deemed Diet Coke and hits Ron Artest pretty much square in the chest. I had mentioned Ron Artest is a very fiery individual, an interesting character. Ron Artest did not like this at all. Artest jumps off the scorer's table, charges into the stands, and grabs a different fan by the name of Michael Ryan by mistake.
It's like, what? What did I do?
Runs up and he grabs Michael Ryan and he's yelling at him like, did you do it? And the fan's trying to say like, no, I didn't freaking do it. Like, leave me alone. In the process of jumping off the scores table to rush into the stands, he completely tramples Mark Boyle, the Indiana radio announcer, who was trying to stop him. Mark Boyle had 5 fractured vertebrae and a gash on his head.
Oh my gosh!
From being run over by Ron Artest.
Wait, Ron Artest, he's a center, right? You said.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. He's a big boy.
He's a big boy. Forward center, something like that. Artest did later apologize to Mark Boyle for doing such a thing. He was overcome with so much anger, he had no idea he even did it, probably. So Artest jumps into the stands, grabs the wrong fans, screaming at him, "Did you do this? Did you do this?" Well, Steven Jackson, who's a teammate of Ron Artest, rushed to Artest's defense, and he pushed another fan, William Paulson, who also threw a drink at Ron Artest.
Okay, I thought there was John Green is just sitting there smiling while all these innocent people are getting.
He literally it's incredible that you can see this on like cameras and footage from the game. Like you can see him throwing the cup, but the players obviously didn't see who did it. Well, Steven Jackson rushed to Artest's defense and he pushed a different fan who threw a drink at him, William Paulson. Now several Pacers and Pistons players and team personnel are rushing into the stands to break up this fight. And now, because now John Green is back, and he's like, I don't know if he jotted Artest or Artest found out who it was, but he starts like pushing and shoving and punching Ron Artest. And then also David Wallace gets involved, and he's also trying to punch and push Ron Artest. David Wallace is the brother of Ben Wallace, the guy who got fouled by Ron Artest to begin with.
He's not a player, right? He's just
a fan. He's just a fan. Okay. So now he's getting involved, and he's trying to defend his brother. He's trying to get in Artest's face. Fans continue to throw food and drinks at this mass of players that are in the stands fighting each other. Because of the chaos of the fans and team personnel rushing into the stands, a lot of fans, to get out of the way and to get out of the chaos, ended up on the basketball court because that was like the safest place.
That's a safe zone.
Which is not okay. You can't at any point enter the playing area. But you can't blame them. They're just trying to get the hell out of there.
There's like a 7-foot man swinging his arms around and like near you. Like that one arm could like reach across a whole aisle of seats. So
it's like I'm not gonna be involved in the middle of this. I don't need this right now. So fans rush onto the court to get away. Artest was confronted by 2 of these fans that ended up on the court. Eventually, Artest kind of gets away from everything, but he's confronted by 2 fans, Alvin Shackelford and Charlie Haddad. They're jawing and talking shit to Ron Artest. Artest punches Alvin Shackelford, and in his friend's defense, Charlie Haddad comes back and shoves Ron Artest. In this little battle, both fans end up falling over. And then out of freaking nowhere, Pacers point guard Anthony Johnson coming to his buddy's defense. Because now if you're a team, now if you're a player and your team personnel, now it's like, I got to just defend my guys from the massive chaos that's going on. We need to stick together and get the hell out of this. Well, I think Anthony Johnson took it a little bit too far because he comes out of nowhere and just starts hammering this fan, Charlie Haddad, while he's on the floor.
Like he's already beaten?
Yeah. And then Haddad is also punched again by another Pacers player, Jermaine O'Neal, as he's trying to get up.
This poor guy. He was kind of a jerk. But like, come on.
He was initially trying to get out of the way. And then Artest comes by him. He starts yelling at Ron Artest. And again, like if you're a fan, you should know who Ron Artest is at the time in the arena, and you have to know that's the one guy we just can't like. Don't jaw at that guy.
Well, I'm imagining too. Like, I know this is like 2004, but I'm imagining all of these guys are bigger than him.
Yes, most of them are. All right, where are we? Yes. Now, the chaos is kind of sort of done. Eventually, after these 2 fans were beat up by half the Pacers roster, they eventually get Ron Artest and Ben Wallace separated and controlled, not necessarily calmed down, but controlled. As more and more fans make their way onto the court, and more shit is being thrown onto the court, mostly at the Pacers. Remember, this is a Detroit Pistons home game. So as much as they're trying to control the chaos, it's too far. It's complete anarchy at this point. Couple quick details about this chaos. I said initially that this event changed sports history. The Palace at Auburn Hills, the security they had on hand were nowhere near prepared to handle anything even close to this. which has since changed. There's the NBA immediately upped security at every single arena. They immediately changed protocols. Um, they limited the number of drinks, alcohol that you can buy.
Boo.
It was at one point at some arenas you could buy 4 drinks per person, and they limited it to 2. Which does that really help? I don't know.
They just don't eat before the game now.
Yeah. A quote here from Indiana Pacers coach Rick Carlisle. Quote, "I was fighting for my life out there." Jermaine O'Neal, Pacers player, "It was 20 times worse in person than what people were seeing on TV." Pacers assistant coach, Chuck Person, he described this Malice as trapped in a gladiator type scene where fans are the lions and we're trying to escape.
That's like horrifying.
Yeah. Just because all of a sudden you're surrounded by, hundreds to thousands of people that do not like you.
Like imagine you are surrounded by a bunch of 8-year-olds that want you dead.
Right. Not a fun place to be in. And it didn't help that, it's a twofold thing where, okay, yes, the fan instigated all of it, but as a player you have to have more restraint than jumping into the stands and trying to beat the shit out of somebody.
Hey, you know what? I bet he'll never do that again though.
No. No. The referees, because of this Malice, decided, screw it. With 45.9 seconds left in the game is over. Indiana Pacers are awarded the W because they were leading at the time. And then they were able to establish enough order to get the Indiana Pacers escorted off the floor into their locker room. Fans kept booing and throwing things just because why not, I guess. I don't know.
Nobody's going to get in trouble now. Everything's already happened.
I don't know. Just throwing stuff when there's a million cameras around is just never going to work out in your favor. Not only were they throwing food and drinks, a steel folding chair was thrown.
What is this? WWE
was thrown, and it nearly hit Jermaine O'Neal. It didn't quite hit him, but it was close. And he was not happy about that, as I'm sure you can imagine. Pistons coach Larry Brown and the PA, the public address announcer John Mason, pleaded with the fans to try and stop doing this. They're trying to get their own home crowd under control, and it didn't matter. It was too much chaos at that point. And I'm trying, I think the correct term would be exasperated. Is kind of how Coach Larry Brown felt. Just I can't do anything at this point. Everything's out of my control.
He just felt defeated almost.
Yeah.
Both in the game and for those fans.
and trying to control the situation. Understandably so, no players and coaches spoke to the media afterwards. And pretty quickly, police officers swarmed the arena. In this entire Malice, 9 fans were hurt and 2 were even hospitalized.
Dang.
I don't know the 2 that were hospitalized, but I can imagine one of them was the dude that ended up on the court that was just getting a hailstorm of fists thrown at him.
3 different players.
Bad place to be. And that's a tough thing legally. You can say, well, the fan was just talking crap and the player's assaulted, but you're on the playing environment, you're not where you're supposed to be, and you're threatening this player by being there. It's a very weird legal battle to fight. Not something that I wish anybody to ever be involved in. In the locker room, the Indiana Pacers, Jermaine O'Neal, the guy who rushed to Ron Artest's defense in the stands and was throwing punches at fans, trying to defend himself and get his team out of there, and head coach Rick Carlisle got into a fight in the Pacers locker room, or a near fight. There was a shouting match, maybe some pushing a little bit. Indiana Pacers coaches and team personnel were understandably trying to restrict and pull players away and get them out of the melee. And Jermaine O'Neal was pissed off, essentially saying, "You're restricting us from fighting and defending ourselves." Again, going back to that gladiator arena, a feel that some of these players felt. Also in the locker room, Ron Artest rather calmly asks Steven Jackson, "You think we'll get in trouble?" and Steven Jackson was beside himself, responding with, "Are you serious, bro? Trouble? Ron, we'll be lucky if we still have a job after this." He used other words there to describe his feelings, but that was the sentiment of it.
That was
the clean version.
Yeah, paraphrase.
Yes. Important to note that when a bunch of police cruisers were there, a lot of police, and they essentially threatened to arrest and take into custody any fans that would not leave the arena and leave the premise. Okay, just go home. We're done. Game's over. Police eventually did enter the locker room to make arrests. You know, you think about it from their perspective. There was an assault that happened.
Yeah. A guy was hospitalized.
So that's what they're doing. But the Pacers acted quickly, and they rushed Ron Artest onto the team bus outside, or like in the arena, but, you know, going outside, and essentially guarded the door and wouldn't allow the police to get on the bus, and said Ron Artest is not getting off this bus, kind of thing. The police decided to just, instead of, you know, going after the Pacers, to just protect them and get them on the bus and get them out of the arena and out of the area. And then they would review footage and make their determinations and arrests at a later time. Yeah. So that's kind of that was the Malice, as they say.
This is wild, dude.
That was the Malice. A hard foul led to a very dangerous brawl in the stands, not even on the court, in the stands.
And there's videos of all this.
Yes, yes.
I know what I'm doing tonight after this.
Yes, yeah. I encourage you to look up and watch it. There's I believe there might be an ESPN 30 for 30 on the Malice at the Palace. I don't quote me on that, but there's certainly some professionally done work on this that you can watch with player accounts and all that stuff. So, of course, you know, that's not just the end of the story. There is aftermath.
I would like to hear who got arrested.
In total, we'll start with the players. In total, 9 players were suspended for a total of 146 games.
Like each, or
in total, all their suspend. Okay. 9 suspensions, 146 total games. The Pacers caught 137 of those games. The Pistons only caught 9 of those games. Why? Ron Artest received the largest suspension. He was suspended for the remainder of the season, which ended up being 73 regular season games, and the Detroit Pistons made the playoffs, and he was suspended for all 13 of their playoff games, totaling 86 total games that Ron Artest was suspended for. It is the largest suspension for an on-court incident in NBA history.
Still to this day?
To this day. To this day! These 9 players that were suspended lost a total of $11 million in salary, with Ron Artest losing $5 million of those dollars. The players' union, you know, working on behalf of the players, tried to appeal some of these suspensions to get them reduced, claiming that David Stern, the commissioner at the time, exceeded his authority. That's what the players' union thought. There are some media members that thought David Stern could have been way more harsh.
Well, yeah, you could have probably suspended a lot of them players for the whole game, the whole season.
Right. I'm reading up on it and looking back on it. I'm surprised Ron Artest is the only one that got suspended for a full season, but he's the one that rushed into the stands. You know, he's kind of the poster boy for the incident. This eventually got all the way up to a federal arbitrator, uh, who he upheld the length of pretty much all the suspensions except for Jermaine O'Neal. He was originally suspended for 25 games. It was reduced to 15 games. Why, I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming it was a thing of his actions were just in defense kind of thing. I'm assuming, whereas Ron Artest actions were like, I'm gonna kill this mf'er, but
And he went after the wrong guy.
yeah, correct. There's a lot of assault, a lot of battery, a lot of everything. Lots and lots of charges were thrown around. It would have been too long to go over all of them. All fans included in this incident, they were banned from Piston home games for the rest of their life. The ban for some of these guys was originally from the arena, meaning you couldn't ever go there. But then it was changed to, okay, just Pistons home games. You guys are no longer allowed, which I think is fair.
Mm-hmm.
John Green,
Yeah.
our shit stirrer.
Yes.
He's not a saint, unfortunately, as I'm sure you could tell by randomly throwing something on the court at a player. Leading up to this, before even getting to the arena that night, John Green had several criminal convictions, and including like alcohol problems, like drunk driving. I think, I'm not going to call him a bad person, but he's troubled.
He knows the law. He's not a very good friend of the law, though.
He's aware of the law. He's the only person, fan, or player in this incident that had jail time. He spent 30 days in jail. Again, I think fair has a lot to do with his past convictions.
Yeah, I say that's probably like the reason why.
He was technically on probation at this time too, I think. So once you violate your probation, you're going to get jail time. Other fans were charged, but other fans were charged, but they never spent any jail time. Some fans were put on probation. Fans and players, I should say. Fans were various charges of probation, fines, restitution, community service. All players charged, they received pretty much the same thing. Some got probation, community service, fines, and anger management counseling, which Ron Artest tried to use. It ultimately failed in the end. So, Caleb, I got through those notes faster than I thought it would. But
I'm impressed.
That is the Malice at the Palace, our first ever NBA topic on balls and blasters.
I love how awesome that was, and I cannot wait to watch that video now.
Yes, there should be YouTube videos, there should be clips, and if you have more free time, I encourage, especially the people at home, to I think it's a 30 for 30. I think ESPN did something on it, but it's a good documentary, and it's fun to just see an in-depth view at dubbed by the AP the most infamous moment in NBA history.
I love that, Austin. I did not expect our first basketball episode to be about a gigantic brawl that happened.
I was going back and forth. My mind was stuck on developmental stories of NBA players, maybe like how the game has evolved, different eras. I was focused on that. But then again, I thought of my last episode. Why don't I just start with a story? And I thought that was entertaining. I thought that would have been an interesting way to jump into some NBA discourse.
Well, I loved it, dude. Oh, I was hooked at every minute.
Well, I appreciate that. Any closing comments on the Malice at the Palace?
Is what's his name? Ron. I'm so bad with names. Artest. Did he get to play a game after that?
So he was suspended for the season. He came back the next year for a different team. He played a couple more years. Actually, this is an important note, part of the aftermath. This is the moment in his life where he started to realize okay, I need to get my anger issues under control. I need to become a changed man. And he literally became a changed man because he changed his name to Meta World Peace.
Oh.
If you've heard of that before.
I have not.
Yes. And I think he played in the NBA as Meta World Peace. But yes, he played in the NBA for a little bit after that. Pretty much all the players involved continued to play. Jermaine O'Neal, the guy, 25-game suspension reduced to 15. He came back, I think, in a game against the Knicks. Wasn't really a big deal. Like, oh, Jermaine O'Neal's back. That's cool. These teams, they're in the same conference. They played each other again, and there was no real malice, I guess. There was no ill will, and it helped that Ron Artest was not there.
Yeah. It almost sounded like too. It wasn't really like the players versus the players. It was more like the players versus the fans.
It was a lot of the initial beef was Ron Artest versus Ben Wallace, and I think that's why nothing else came out of it.
Wait, Ben Wallace got suspended too, right? Or no?
Yes, I'm pretty sure he did. I could actually look this up for you if you'd like me to.
I would. I would like to see it.
As soon as I figure out where the hell I put my phone.
There we go.
I got it.
Yeah. Because they only got, what you said, 9-game suspension in total?
So, yes. Here, let me. Malice at the Palace. Let me go back into my notes here. Yeah, the Pistons got 9 games of suspension in total, which is, I think, again, it goes to your point of the Pistons players. A couple of them were going after Ron Artest, but it was a lot of just like, we need to get everybody the hell out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Wallace was suspended for 6 games.
Okay, so he was 6 of those 9. And then I'm gonna guess like it was like 3 guys that were 1.
Right. Steven Jackson, he's the guy that ran into the stands to defend Ron Artest right away, and was also I don't think he was suspended 30 games, which is a big suspension. But a lot of these guys just got suspended 1 game because they left the bench, as I mentioned earlier. But yeah. So an infamous moment in the history of the NBA. It changed not only the NBA, but just the sporting world in general. So
now they're the reason why we can't get drunk at basketball games.
I guess if that's what you're into.
But the only NBA game I've ever been to though, they were selling like beatboxes. If you guys don't know what beatboxes are, yeah, and you could get 2 of them.
That's wild.
That's like 6 or 8 drinks.
Remember how we thought those were so sick for one night?
One night.
The worst hangover Balls and Blasters has ever had. Never again, they say.
Again. Don't do them.
Maybe you're into that kind of thing. Doesn't matter. That's a different topic of discussion, I suppose.
That's when we start just a casual conversation podcast.
That's Balls and Blasters After Hours.
No, it's B&B.
B&B. No.
All right. So, that was episode 15
of Balls and Blasters.
I can do this time.
Go ahead, Caleb. Take it away.
Yeah, you're sick, so I can do it. All right. So for Balls and Blasters, you can find us. You're probably watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. But we also are active, semi-active. I've been busy. Just remember, so it's harder to get these out. TikTok, Instagram, and them YouTube shorts here. We started to not post right away when we post the episodes on Instagram. Sorry guys, you'll have to subscribe and get notified.
It's an algorithm thing. YouTube is annoying sometimes.
So so if you want to stay up to date, turn on those notifications on YouTube or Spotify or a podcast, and you will get a notification when we do release a new episode.
And a general rule of thumb, again, not always, but our current schedule is typically record Wednesday night, and then the episode is up Thursday, Friday. That's what we strive for. doesn't always happen. So keep notifications on, and Thursday, Friday, head to the YouTube, head to Spotify, Apple Podcast.
Yeah, hopefully we can get a little more consistent as things kind of slow down more here. That when you turn an adult, though, things don't slow down.
It never slows down.
But hopefully after Christmas time too, we should be on a pretty consistent schedule here.
Right. Maybe we'll see. We might do a Thanksgiving themed episode next week.
I think we're gonna have to. Yeah, I'm not dressing up as a turkey though.
No dressing up this time. But perhaps a Thanksgiving themed episode.
I bet you sports has a lot of good stuff for that.
I can definitely find something. I actually have a really good idea right off the bat. So we'll see.
Okay, so next week's episode might be later or earlier because we record on Thanksgiving Eve.
Right. And that can be tough for our schedules, perhaps.
Yes, and I don't know if I could. I might actually. It might help to get the episode released. So episode might come out on Thursday next week on Thanksgiving. So
dun, 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 dun. You can listen to us to avoid all your family's political discussions.
Exactly. Or put us on and then maybe it'll call a Thanksgiving piece.
Background fodder, but pay attention and comment and like and subscribe and follow and share.
Maybe yes. Yes, make sure, and it's not your racist uncle. Make sure he goes to hell.
This is devolving incredibly quickly.
We're going to go now.
Bye.